All right, it's time for us to do our Kegel exercises. Why do we do them? Who cares? Well, the reason is that our pelvic floors are very important for our health. Our pelvic floors hold up the organs of the pelvis, including in women, the uterus, the vagina, the bladder, and the rectum. And so the stronger you can make your pelvic floor muscles, the better you can support them.
I like it. So then we have this patented GynoCast customized Kegel exercise. World-renowned custom.
And acclaimed. Prized-winning.
We sound super fancy when we talk about it like that.
That's right.
But you've come up with this great routine that we can use to help strengthen our pelvic floor.
So easy.
Right. So you ready to start it off?
I'm ready.
Okay. 3
times a day.
6
days a week.
9
seconds per Kegel exercise.
And 12.
Kegel exercise in a row for a rep. And so you're just doing it 3 times a day. Do 12. Hold it for 9 seconds. Okay, you can do it 6 days a week and take a day off. You'll have a pelvic floor like a chain link fence, Twila Dang.
I like
You'll
it.
be able to pull a trailer. You will be the envy of your neighborhood. You will walk taller.
I'm going to go do them right now. I'd like to walk taller today. So make sure that you're doing them, and feel free to go get that infographic off of the GynoCast Facebook page and share it with your friends as well. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Eric Heegaard. You are listening to the GynoCast. I'm here with my wing woman. I've been given permission to say that, wing woman.
Yes, you have.
My boss, my buddy.
Alrighty. That's
Twila Dang.
Hi.
And if you're new to the Gyno Show, welcome aboard. We love having new listeners. If you're a recurrent addicted listener, we love you differently and as much. Today
beautiful.
we are going to be talking about the wandering womb and the village and the valley.
Stop that.
We're talking about...
Okay. Technically,
I got you, didn't I? I got you.
Technically,
I'm moving too fast.
No, actually, that's wonderful. No, we actually are going to be talking about that, but within a certain context.
The wandering womb and the village and the valley?
Well, not the village and the valley. But we've talked about that before. But occasionally we like to sort of go over some information. We like to dispel some myths, and sometimes we find
Mythbusters today.
Yeah, a little bit. And I occasionally like when we come across these things that kind of talk about your area of expertise, but also just how much we didn't understand about women's bodies back in the day.
It's almost unbelievable.
Well, some of these things are so outrageous that I'm surprised that they didn't try to burn us all at the stake. Because it's like, really? You actually thought our bodies did these things?
They did burn a lot of you ladies at the stake.
No,
they did.
No, they didn't. They
didn't?
No, they did not. They did not actually burn witches. They actually hung them. Isn't that nuts?
That is, we need to talk about that.
I'll one of the weird fun facts that I know about things that I've researched in the past. But yeah, we'll talk about that in another day because it's interesting.
Is it true that witches sink? But if you're not, no, wait. If you're a witch, you float. If you're not a witch, you sink. So if you sink, you drown and die.
Yeah, you're vindicated.
Actually, you've been
and
vindicated.
dead. Yeah, you're vindicated and dead.
Swim.
And if you
get
float,
hung.
yeah, then you're a witch, and that's the end of you. And so you proved us right, and you're dead. Yeah, we could not win. We just couldn't win.
I can tell you that people knew more about sheep.
Yeah, that's true.
Historically,
listen. I'm beginning to think people knew more about everything, but
they knew more about female sheep than they knew about female human beings.
Yeah, so
it's
pretty amazing. So this week, I found a lovely list, and occasionally I'll refer to a list because I like lists. They organize my life. There's a website that I actually love. It's called The List. It's great. It's great. And we'll put a link up we'll put it in the syllabus so you can actually
list of files.
Yeah, so you can go back and share it with your friends. But this was a list of things people used to believe about women's bodies, which is remarkable to me. So we're going to talk about some of these, and then as the doctor at large, you get to sort of debunk some of these. I mean, some of them won't need to be debunked because they're just that dumb.
So full disclosure, I have not seen the list.
No, you haven't.
And so the embarrassing thing is I may not know.
Yeah, so, I mean, most likely...
You'll tip me off.
Yeah, some of these are pretty common sense. Like the first thing on this list, menstruating women can kill swarms of bees.
How?
So this came from like ancient Rome. Okay, so they said that there was.
Come up with that?
They said there was a section in an encyclopedia called Natural History by Pliny the Elder that talked about various powers that menstruating women have allegedly possessed. He believed a woman on her period is a force to be reckoned with, and that the side effects of her time of the month include cursing plants in her path, dimming the brightness of mirrors. I really do wish I had that power. Driving dogs crazy, and killing swarms of bees.
Now, so this just makes you think, because Pliny the Elder, I think, actually was a great observer of history, and I think he was a historian.
Yeah.
And observed a lot of things. Makes you question whether anything he wrote had any validity at all.
I think he just got mad at the girl that he was trying to talk to, and she wasn't having it, so he made up all this crap.
But just how would you? Maybe she was walking along and the bees scattered, just because.
She probably was waving them off, and then they ran, and he was like, "Oh, she's on her period, so that's she can kill swarms of bees."
Wow.
Isn't that dumb?
Fascinating.
I know that none of it makes any sense. I condemn mirrors, really.
But the interesting thing about this is, in a way, it sort of makes you think, sort of fondly a little bit. Just hear me out before you jump in.
Gotcha.
About the wonder and mystery that people looked at women and their bodies and their ability to be, to create life. That they looked at women as having that kind of power from their period.
But see,
it's kind of amazing.
See, what I'm mad about is that somehow we didn't take advantage of that back then, so that we run everything now. Because apparently back then they thought we could do everything, like torturous and terrifying to them. So we should have just like if we had done it right back then. Today I could literally look at you, cock an eyebrow, and you'd like bow, because you'd just be like, please don't kill me with your with your womanly power.
That's not necessarily so far from the truth. Well, so it's the loss of the feminine divide.
I guess.
I think there was, maybe not in Rome, or where was Pliny from? Was he Roman, or was
Roman?
Mm-hmm. So there was this. Well, if you, and I'm just going to say I'm not a historian. I don't know if this is true. I'm just winging it.
Right.
But I think that there was a part of many of these dominant Western cultures, and the Greeks and the Romans, that part of what they did is they incorporated local traditions and cultures and religious beliefs and sort of perverted them or twisted them into the dominant Roman religions, and in doing so, they appropriated the feminine divine and crushed it.
That wouldn't surprise me.
How do you like that? I'm just going to say
you don't know.
I'm not sure, but it sounds good.
It sounds good.
Sounds
hey,
damn
listen,
good.
I'm good on that.
And because the Celts, the Romans were up in Britain, and you had the Celts running around doing what Celts do.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
I don't know what that is either.
Well, they had the Stonehenge and, the whole fertility rituals, which were just freaking fascinating.
We're just going to find out one day when we all, leave the mortal coil that God was a woman. She's been laughing at us for a very long time. And she just kind of let us figure it out as slowly as possible.
Well, this is, and that I don't look forward to that day too soon.
Yeah, me neither. I told you I'm trying to get to 150. So.
Yeah, because everybody wants to go
to heaven. But I do got questions. I can't wait till I get there and get to ask. I will. I got lots of questions.
You know the song, right?
No, and you're not going to sing it, whatever
Everybody
it is.
wants to go to heaven. Everybody wants to go to heaven, Twila.
I should have known.
Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to go now.
Fair point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fair point. Moving on to our list of our lovely list of things people used to believe about women's bodies. So next on this list are women have fewer teeth than men. Did you know that?
I did not know
Ancient
that.
Greeks thought that.
Oh, my
They
Lord.
said because a woman was considered by Aristotle to be an incomplete version of a man and even had fewer teeth than their male counterparts.
That's sort of...
baloney.
Well, it's sort of... Number one, that's not true, is it?
No,
I've never thought about it. I just always assume we have the same amount of teeth. But we all know that you have one less rib.
Whatever. Not Adam's rib or nobody else's.
Well, seriously, have you done your due diligence? Because I've never thought about this. I just assume that women have the same amount of teeth. I haven't looked into it.
Listen.
Do they?
I don't need to have the same number of teeth as you. I have a vagina.
I'm not trying to argue with the benefits back and forth. I'm just saying that is it true or not? Because
but it doesn't make me an incomplete compared to a man.
That's two different arguments. We're talking about whether it has to be
but
untrue.
That's what
because
he
it's
said.
a myth. I know, and we always think about the Greeks as being the founders of scientific thought, right? The scientific thought process. How hard is it to count a woman's teeth?
Okay.
But
they also didn't have very good dental back then, so I'm just saying.
Well, that could, therein maybe the problem.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people who had a lot of teeth missing.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, he might have been counting like 5 teeth compared to like 2. Who knows?
You that's a fascinating idea, because I think you're right, is that most people probably didn't get to adulthood with their full set of teeth.
You know what? I just realized already that I picked a topic that's going to require a really extensive syllabus, and maybe I should have rethought that.
The syllabus. All right, moving on. I think we can all, I'm going to say, without having full scientific details here, that I think women have the same amount of teeth.
I'm going to say, even if we don't, doesn't make me incomplete.
You're taking that to heart.
I'm very upset about that. Next on the list is your old favorite. You referenced it at the top of the show.
The Wandering Womb and the Willage and Wally.
The Wandering Womb. That is from good old Greek physician Hippocrates.
Yeah, that's frightening.
Isn't it? It's also it also deserves the credit for identifying the disorder for hysteria.
Yeah, this is funny and sad at the same time.
It is, because lots of women were locked up just for being women on their period, or being women who were like PMSing, or just being women who had emotions and feelings. Like, they could use that. That was a blanket diagnosis that could put a woman in a sanatorium for all of her days.
Well, and you could use that diagnosis for a lot of different nefarious reasons.
Yeah, and it was used, and it really was used again and again and again to take power and agency away from women, which infuriates me.
Well, and the other thing too is that, and this again, I'm just going to throw out my own philosophy, but I think this is true, that we are all just souls floating in neurotransmitters and hormones. I can promise you can take the most solid person, whoever you know, the smartest, more stable person, and we can jack that person up.
Absolutely.
If we screw up their hormones and their neurotransmitters, we can control your brain, Twila. We can, as evidenced by the fact that we can put you to sleep. We can make you go to sleep so we can do anesthesia. We can control your brain. You might think you're empowered, but you're really not. And we can take any person and we jack with their hormones, they will go insane. And so the very fact that we take these women and historically did not understand that there are times in lives of the month and times of women's lives when their hormones are totally messed up, and use that as a reason to institutionalize them is not kind.
I agree with you.
To be
1,000%.
And the whole thing, but you're going back to this whole idea is that Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, believed that the uterus, the womb, did not stay in place.
Yeah, that it actually got up and went places.
It wandered around the abdomen, wreaking havoc.
Listen, if you really wanted to get up, it could get up and leave once a month when I'm on my period. That'd be great. I would happily agree to that, but it doesn't work that way. And I just find it fascinating how little real exploration was put into some of these theories, in terms of, it was like, oh, it's a woman. It doesn't really matter, so I'm just going to make some stuff up.
Yeah,
it just kind of amazes me. But,
Okay.
all the things we've learned. What?
Public service announcement.
Okay.
This is interesting. Men and women's teeth do not differ significantly.
Okay.
And let's see. What it says that, both... The results overall demonstrated that sex could be detected in only about 50% of the images. They were just looking at teeth by X-ray.
Okay.
And so there are some slight differences, but in short, men and women have the same number of teeth, unless they've had them removed for whatever reason.
And you're welcome.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Take that.
That's what I thought.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Okay.
Pliny or Hippocrates.
So, moving on. Women don't have sexual urges.
Well, we all know that.
Well, we all know that's not true. Hee-haw. So this actually stems from the idea of hysteria that persisted through the Victorian age, which we just talked about a little bit. There's even an anecdote somewhere in the annals of history that says Queen Victoria advising one of her daughters that on her wedding night she should lie back and think of England.
That she's just doing her service to God and country.
That it ain't about you. It's just about taking care of business. Which is terrible. It's terrible.
Well, this goes back to the whole idea of hysteria, the misconceptions of women's sexuality. But we've talked about the invention of the vibrator.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is a fascinating history of medicine. They
is.
used it to treat. The idea was that these women needed to have an orgasm, or whatever they described
it would help. They called it some sort of systemic release or something like that. I can't remember. But there's a great movie too that came out I'd say 5, 6, 7 years ago called Hysteria. That specifically it's a bit comedic, but it talks about the invention of the vibrator and sort of the scandal and revolution it caused in Victorian England at the time.
And these doctors apparently would have lines around the block.
Yeah. It was, I mean, the guy, well, at least the way that the movie depicted it, the guy who invented it, I mean, he became like, you know, a Victorian rock star. Like, it was like he went from like poverty to uber wealth. I mean, he was a hero among men because he got women to come to heel, and and the guys basically got what they wanted out of it. Like, they were just, the whole movie itself was super fascinating, and just digging into the actual story of it to me was just, I mean, beyond.
So this was one of the advertisements for the vibrator at the time. The Shelton vibrators are used in the finest homes in America. Vibration has attained great popularity as an adjunct to the toilet, as well as in treatment of many diseases.
An adjunct to the toilet?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just reading what it says.
That's
here.
interesting. Maybe they were talking about like bidets.
It was not uncommon for Victorian doctors to encounter female patients with hysteria, which included anxiety, irritability, and bloated stomachs. And providing pelvic massages was a routine. Oh my lord, was a routine part of most Victorian doctors' work.
Yay.
And apparently, Dr. J. Mortimer Granville found this fatiguing. He found providing pelvic massages fatiguing.
So really and truly, the vibrator was made because he was too lazy to keep giving women hand jobs in the office.
You said that, not me.
Yeah.
So Dr. J. Mortimer Granville pioneered this labor-saving vibrator in the 1880s when his electromechanical invention was patented. Originally used purely as a medical instrument, its immense generator restricted to vibrator to permanent installations in the doctor's surgery. Oh, my Lord.
Yep. See what we learned? We learned lots of things.
Lazy lovers.
That just...
The one-handed massage. We've talked about that before.
So wrong about us.
How many men will, they just think, hey, one-handed massage is better than no-handed massage. And what I mean by that, don't let your naughty little brains go away with what you're thinking about. When
God said nothing.
I'm just saying that, how many times, and this probably doesn't happen to Mr. Dang, because he's an enlightened...
We're not talking about Mr. Dang, I told you.
But I'm just saying that, someone, your partner might say something, God, my shoulder hurts. I'm kind of tired. Would you mind rubbing my shoulder? And the male partner turns over on his side and takes one hand and massages said shoulder. Well, basically trying to fall asleep.
Okay.
And instead of getting up and taking both hands and some massage oil and really getting in the the crevices and
okay, where are we going?
I don't know. You were the one who brought up the vibrator.
It was a part of the thing.
And I'm just talking about how, J. Mortimer, whatever his name, was too lazy to just do his job.
Yeah, like one of what I feel is one of the greatest inventions for women in all of the 20th century was really just an offshoot of a lazy dude who didn't want to keep giving his patients hand jobs.
Yeah, right. That's a terrible visual.
And just when I thought we were going to be able to get through a whole season with no explicit tags, we got one.
Support for the GynoCast is provided by OBGYN West. OBGYN West provides the highest quality care from compassionate providers, including women's health issues from general sexual health to pregnancy care, childbirth, menopause, and beyond. Whether it's your teen's first annual exam, a new baby's on the way, or you're facing the special challenges of middle age, OBGYN West provides a wide array of services. Their doctors and PAs are trained in virtually every type of OBGYN service and procedure. OBGYN West provides exceptional care for women.
Okay. So next on this list of things that we just completely got wrong about women's bodies and history, self-pleasure leads to being flat-chested. I can affirm that is not true. In the Victorian era, masturbation was a huge no-no. So some of the myths about touching yourself down there are still spread as old wives' tales, and people today don't really believe that this practice will drive you insane or make hair grow on your hands, but there are still rumors that persist, such as this particular rumor. John Cohen wrote in The Science of New Life that girls who have followed masturbating habits show unusually strong indications of it in the failure of their glandular development. Such persons are apt to be flat-breasted, or as we term it, flat-chested.
See, I would like to say that masturbation tends to occur more as people's hormone levels go up, as they become adolescents in general, as the sex hormones begin to occur.
Really? Because I think I disagree. I'm not a medical person, but I think I disagree.
In what sense?
In that I think that the exploration of things that are pleasurable to your body happen well before the hormones kick in.
Interesting. Because what I was going to say, I was trying to counter I think that's true. This exploration of a person's your own
like
body.
not necessarily purposefully, but I think what happens with a lot of young people, or even with a lot of children, is they find something feels good and they repeat the motion, and they don't. It's not necessarily something that they thoughtfully decide it's Tuesday, I'm going to do this, but they discover something, whether it's while they're bathing or whatever, in the privacy of their own spaces, and they indulge in it. And that's part of your job as a parent, when you recognize that, is making sure that you're setting up a really strong sense of your body and what makes you feel good is okay, and understanding what the boundary is.
True.
Because a lot of people accidentally shame their children at a young age when they catch them with their hands down pants or doing things like that.
Down south.
Yeah, and they shame them inadvertently, just thinking, oh, we don't do that, or don't do that, and not meaning, instead of sort of trying to find a way to have a real, not even necessarily a conversation, but an understanding of how to tell them that their body is okay and what it can do is okay.
Yeah, many of the things we always talk about on the Gynocast kind of can have these spreading sort of circles of conversation that are so interesting, because we're starting out about with this discussion of this myth that is funny and interesting because it's so obviously wrong,
right? And
then it goes into it actually leads us to a more serious conversation about the importance of not sexually shaming or having people feel bad about their body and how their body responds.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the important kind of repercussions of these conversations as a person, not just a woman or a woman and man, move on in their life in terms of the shame related to our own bodies and how we experience our bodies. Because, I don't know about your thoughts, but my experience as a physician is the pain, the psychic, the emotional pain that has to do with sexuality and people is profound.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from, a lot of the pain that people go through comes from shame that is enacted on them by adults that they trust.
Absolutely.
And I think the vast majority of the time it is accidental. I don't think the parent intends at all. I think there are some subsects of the population that, you're just messed up and you propagated that on a kid. But a lot of people just don't know how to handle it themselves.
It's a very
so they don't.
Can you come up with a more awkward conversation for most people when they're talking to their kids?
Absolutely not. Anybody? And you have a kid, and even having a conversation, like, how do you have a conversation with a kid who is not really even old enough or mature enough to have that, to like understand the concept of the conversation, but you don't want them to be ashamed of their body and what it can do. I mean, that's a very difficult proposition have to have with a kid. But it's important that you have it, and it's important to even know, like, it kind of makes you check yourself on your own crap, so that you know what you're dealing in. Because a lot of adults don't have a comfortable understanding about their bodies and masturbation and whether they use it or indulge in it or whatever. They're tied up about it. So if you're tied up about it and you're an adult, and then you see your kid indulging in it, and you're like, what do you do? Then you accidentally, put that off on them. And that's, part of that is us getting right with our own stuff.
That's right.
Like your body's not just a vessel that's here to, function until you fall over dead. The body was designed to attain pleasure, and you're allowed to enjoy it, and you have to understand what the parameters are, and you have to be comfortable with your own body in all of those forms or fashion, so that you can have healthy, contact with other adults, so that you can understand how to have healthy, respectful conversations with other adults and with your children, if you have children at some point, or people that you trust, or people that are looking to you for advice and support and guidance.
That's right.
There's a lot that's tied into that we don't deal in.
So the point I was trying to make, to circle back to the car, is I was trying to be
No,
clever
you did a good
here.
job.
You don't even know what I'm saying yet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're just being supportive, which I appreciate.
I was momming you. Good job, honey.
Good job. So the point I was trying to make is that, isn't it interesting that I will agree with you, but I'm pretty sure of my without having any data to support this, but I would say that the amount of self pleasuring goes up as people hit adolescence.
Yeah, I would say I agree with that. There's probably a steep increase.
Yes,
yeah.
And so the point I was trying to make to counter this myth is this, which is that, let's say a girl, because we're talking about girls here, is 8 years old. Are they flat-chested or abundant at that point?
Most are not abundant at
Right.
that point.
And yet they may be engaging in some self-pleasure, but as then they hit adolescence, and what happens? They become abundant. To some degree, they develop secondary sexual characteristics in terms of breast growth.
Right.
Some women will have more than others. But the frequency of sexual pleasuring, whatever you want to call it,
Masturbation.
masturbation.
Just call it masturbation.
Okay, let's just call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Goes up, and yet virtually everybody during that time with there being more masturbation develops breast tissue. So I'm totally countering that. You see, the frequency of masturbation goes up when you're an adolescent. The amount of breast tissue goes up. I can tell you, we can study
Look at you
that.
sciencing that out.
And so we are sciencing that out.
Okay,
and I'll
good
tell you,
work.
that's a total misconception.
I agree with you. Good job.
We're doing a thumbs down on that.
So you did deserve a good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next thing on this list is
and the word is pleasure.
it's
not
not
pleasure.
stop that.
It's-
We're not
it's-
doing this with you.
It's pleasure.
The next thing on this list is reading makes women infertile. Yeah, if that's the truth,
Well,
if that's the truth, I wouldn't even have any sex organs. I read so many goddamn books. They would have just like
reading what?
everything.
Well, I would say TV does too. In the old days,
this is baloney. This is all
No,
baloney. We're not doing this.
it's associated but not causative.
No, it's not. None of it. No,
Sure it is.
None of it. No.
It's absolutely true. This is the thing. Hear me out. I'm a doctor.
Go for it.
Okay, so 300 years ago, 1,000 years ago, you know what happened when we killed our ram or our sheep, the mountain lion or whatever we killed, and then we retired to the cave. We started a fire, we roasted the whatever, and then what do you do afterwards? Do you read a book? No, because we didn't have books. What did you? You fornicated.
No, you didn't. You drew pictures on the walls. That's why we found all these like pictures over time.
All right, there was one guy. There was one guy who said, "Hey,
Ooh,
the one guy." But I'll tell you what most people did is once they were done telling stories and the fires were getting dim and they didn't have a book to read, and they didn't have Housewives of Atlanta to distract them, they probably bumped into each other.
Maybe
on purpose or by accident. It's
Okay.
all about Brownian motion.
Yeah, but I still think this is baloney. Still baloney.
That's why it's associated but not causative.
I don't believe it. Okay,
Books
wait.
and
So
writing.
this actually came from a Harvard professor named Edward H. Clark. He wrote in a book called Sex and Education, or A Fair Chance for the Girls, that while women are capable of learning, too much book learning could lead to infertility and irritability. Clark recommended that girls receive limited schooling so as not to damage their health or baby-making abilities. Now, can we go back and take out that one particular phrase I would like to focus on? It could lead to infertility and irritability. Would you like to know why? Because I think I have an explanation.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Because once we got smarter, we had better standards, and we didn't want to take any more crap from dudes.
Yeah, and you didn't want to, when some knucklehead next
I'm
to you.
pissed at you, so now I'm not getting married, so I'm going to be infertile because our clock runs out before your clock runs out.
That too, and also you're going to have less tolerance for somebody just saying something totally idiotic.
Right. So I got some book learning, and now I'm not taking your crap.
Instead of saying,
oh well, now I'm going to be a cat lady.
Yeah.
Oh well.
That's right. And so instead of saying, "Oh, Chelsea" or whatever, you are so smart and your intelligence is making me so lustful, you're going to say, "Clark, you are an idiot."
Yeah, and I'm not.
And I am not going to reproduce with you because you are a knucklehead.
Yeah, peace out. I agree with that.
Go self-pleasure yourself. Go engage in some self-pleasure.
Okay, this one is really ridiculous, and I'm only reading it to acknowledge how ridiculous it is.
I have the Griswold vibrator. Go to town.
The next one on this list is viewing ugly things while pregnant makes ugly babies.
Oh, that's a truism. Especially if it's your partner you're looking at.
I
can't believe I just. Oh my
you
Lord!
Did I'm not in it. You send emails to Dr. Eric Heegaard. I don't send them to me.
Listen, if you are having babies with Harvey Weinstein.
No, we're not even talking about him.
We're
he
not
gets no
talking. I didn't even
acknowledgement.
say it.
Nope, we know.
But
And somebody
he
did.
looks like
Wait,
a wart.
No, stop. And somebody did. So
He looks
we're
like
not,
a wart.
No, stop. Somebody did have babies with him, so we're not doing that because that means there's
Bless
kids in the
her
world
soul.
who have to deal with that as it is without us
They're not
dogpiling on the
listening to
rabbit.
Gynocast. Okay, you're right.
We don't know. So
I
don't
retract
do
that.
Thank you. We'll just edit it out.
He's
So
one of God's children.
he is. He's on the wrong path, but he still is.
He looks like a wart.
Stop that. Okay, this came from the book
An ugly wart.
The Pregnant Imagination, Fetal Rights and Women's Bodies, A Historical Inquiry. And unfortunately, a woman wrote this book. Julie Epstein wrote that there was a debate over whether or not imaginative activity in the minds of pregnant women could explain birthmarks and birth malformations. No, that's just... Okay, never mind. She wrote the book, but she was culling the stupid history. No,
Okay.
that's just...
I disagree.
Well, I know we're not even acknowledging that. That's dumb. Now, actually, this next one is actually kind of... I think this was actually important because I think people still believe it. So this is from a list, again, of things people used to believe about women's bodies, that tampons can make women lose their virginity. And this has persisted since the 1930s when tampons were introduced by the Tampax Corporation. Yeah.
Well, if it depends on whether you're talking about some sort of damage or breakdown of the hymeneal ring, that's possible.
Right, and I think that is a very persistent. I think that's still a persistent.
So is riding a bike or doing stretching or just being alive. You can, if you are walking, you can, as an adolescent, you can conceivably tear that hymeneal ring.
Right, but I think this is. Do you think that maybe the reason this persists is because the tampon as an object is a phallic looking object? So
Twila.
It is
Mixed company here.
Oh, sorry.
Well, but it depends on what you define as being losing one's virginity.
I think the idea of something being, I think the idea is something inserted into your vagina that causes the hymen to break.
All right. Well,
and I think because people have a very narrow definition of what they think sex is or what's constituted as sex, that's very much a thought process.
Yeah, I think it's a semantics thing.
Yeah, I think it is semantics, but unfortunately, I think it's semantics that still exists.
I think that you could take pretty much any person who was concerned about their child's virginity, and if you said to them, him or her, Mrs. Johnson, you have two options. One is that your daughter can put a tampon in, or your daughter can have wild, crazy sexual encounters with somebody. Which would you prefer?
I mean, that seems like
as a 13-year-old.
Yeah, that seems like an odd. But
you would say I'd prefer that she use a tampon.
No, but
because nobody in their right mind would confuse those two different acts as being equal in terms of loss of virginity.
But people confuse those two different acts all the time and use it as justification. I mean, zealots actually that's why that thing is persistent, because people genuinely won't discern the difference between somebody engaging in sexual contact and somebody using a product or device to help ease symptoms of periods. I mean, there's a lack of logic amongst a lot of reasonable people about things like this. It's that kind of logic jump is the same kind of logic jump that keeps people from using the HPV vaccine. Yeah. The idea that because I'm giving you something that could prevent a disease later on, but because it's associated with the disease you get sexually, if I give it to my 13-year-old, I've given them permission to have sex. Using a tampon isn't permission to have sex. But somehow in your brain you have connected the two. Yeah. Where's your common sense? A lot of people aren't exercising common sense. So it's not surprising to see that somebody would make that leap, because we see people making that kind of a weird leap all the time.
Well, we've talked about this idea of hymen repair, which I've done.
We did talk about that.
I've had women who are from different areas where having an intact hymen is very important, especially not only just it can in terms of their safety and health, and they're going back to their community, and they may have negative repercussions if that hymen is not intact, and we can surgically repair that. And so it's not a trivial thing.
That's true. Now, we're going to go over one more thing on this list. This list is it just goes on, and boy, it's gloriously bad. I'm going to share it. I will make sure we share it in the syllabus. But today I would like to end on this one. See how you handle this. Female virgins can cure men with venereal diseases. Now, this came from people in England and in the United States in the early 20th century.
Oh my God, I don't even know what to say about that. That's
unfortunate, and honestly, it still is a myth that persists today. There are men afflicted with AIDS and HIV in sub-Saharan Africa, along with parts in India and Thailand, who have reportedly sought out young girls in search of this "quote unquote" cure. Yeah. They genuinely think that that is a cure-all. Yeah. Well, see, this tragedy of it. And it bothers me on so many levels. One, because it's just nonsense and it's ridiculous. But two, that it's been propagated throughout different cultures and different areas of the world, that it yet again puts young girls in vulnerable positions.
Yeah.
That we should never be putting children in.
And propagating not just the myth but the disease
yeah,
to people who
absolutely.
are innocent.
Even more so. So I would say, just in case, because we do know we have international reach. We do. Yeah. We should put that out there again. That is not. It's not real.
Valid.
It's not valid.
I do know that. Yeah, I've heard stories about places where certain disease are rampant. HIV and that sort of thing, sub-Saharan Africa, that men who are trying to prevent themselves from getting HIV will try to have sex with virgins because they're not going to get HIV from a virgin.
Right. But they already have.
Well, hopefully, but I think these are, hopefully, yeah, you don't have HIV yourself, but still, it's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. I would say
it's a grim, dark part of human nature. That is a grim, dark corner of the
we
psyche.
have to do better. We just have to do. I mean, we do. We just have to do.
Thanks for ending on a high note.
What should we? We should. Now I feel like we should end on something else.
Let's end on something funny.
Okay. Exercise is dangerous for women.
Okay.
I mean,
what is the point?
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
You're not going to break your hip sitting on a couch.
Exercise is dangerous for women. You shouldn't do it, girls. Don't do it.
Yeah,
just join me. Join me on the. Listen, we can sit on the couch and eat popcorn and have our Thursday glass of wine together.
That's right.
It is safer.
That's
we
right.
get hurt. Listen, I can hurt myself reaching for that remote. That's why I had children. Somebody else can do it for me.
True.
Okay, no.
True.
We should at least find out where this came from. Okay, I guess in the early 19th century, it was a German doctor that strongly advised against girls jump roping, as it made the feet flat, damaged the lungs, and caused twisting of the bowels as well as chronic headaches.
Oh, dear.
And I'm never jumping rope again.
I did not jump rope, Twila.
Okay, don't use the accent.
It will twist your bowels.
Okay, but we should. Well, no, stop that. Because somebody's going to hear it and then actually think that I'm serious about this. But we should, as a medical doctor, should make sure to debunk this. We actually do need to exercise.
In my extensive experience.
Okay, you're not doing that. Quit it. Now you're going to mess up my audio.
Okay. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Under most circumstances, excessive anything is, too much water is not good.
Yeah, that's true.
You can kill yourself with too much water.
That's true.
And too little, too much alcohol, too little alcohol. Well, I don't know if there's any downside. There's really no downside to too little alcohol.
Yes, there is. Sometimes I'm not enjoying that Christmas party.
That's right.
Because I had too little.
Mm-hmm. So,
the social lubricant.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, as we said before, we will put the original list up in the syllabus, and I actually think we should revisit this because there's some really interesting. There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of conversations that can come out.
Yeah,
of
there's a lot that can be had in this conversation. So we will definitely share some more in the future. And in the meantime, if you haven't, go to the Facebook page. You should join us on Facebook. It's easy. Go to Facebook and type in the Gynocast and request to be a member. You just have to ask to join. Yeah, it's super easy. And we only vet to make sure that we keep, people that aren't going to be a part of positive, respectful, supportive conversations about these topics out of the group. We just don't want any weirdos in the group.
I do notice, Twila, can I just say, you've got great arches. So you haven't so your lack of exercise
I was an athlete.
Indeed not flattened your feet.
No, I have not.
Oh, you were an athlete.
Yeah.
Of course you were.
I
That's
don't
right.
jump rope, so it's fine.
And your arches are still well supported.
Yeah, indeed. Now, and don't forget, if you're in the Gynocast page, you can have conversations with us. You can suggest show topics. You can also email the show. There's a send message option in there. Hit that. You can send us a direct message, and you can find out a little bit more, and we can help you out as best we can. As always, we appreciate you listening.
Yep. See you soon. Thank you.